What would Arja do? Let's have a look.
Suggestion seems to be that a man, a sexually predatory man, would dress as a woman with the sole intention to gain access to a women's refuge.
Yes, India, men would do that because sexual predators will do anything with the sole intention of gaining access to women's spaces so that they can abuse them. Thank you for acknowledging that.
Predatory man, why wouldn't you actually try to do that?
Exactly, Piers.
A preposterous suggestion.
Why is it preposterous? Because you're a man and you don't want to admit that men sometimes do these things all the fucking time.
Is it?
I can't.
We've already had male rapists.
Yes, we have.
Identifying as women to try and get into female prisons.
Thank you, Piers.
For an easier time, and because they're surrounded by women. Yeah, it's happened.
Well, they identify as female in prison, but they are transgender prison.
They are male prisoners who think they are women because they don't want to do their crime in a male prison where they belong. I don't give a crap if they think they're trans. They are men, male, like you, India.
We're not suggesting that they're men.
My point is that there is...
Yes, we are. We're 100% absolutely saying for a fact they are men.
There's a suspicion that there are...
Like you, India. You are also a man.
Actually, predatory men, rapists and so on, who will abuse this very system now to identify as women.
I am sure
so they could be around women.
Women's Aid, it's got lots of experts working for it. It's got a massive knowledge bank, and it will have those concerns as a priority. And I'm sure that they will not. If you turned up tomorrow, Piers, and decided that you were going to be called Patricia, Women's Aid would not allow you access to a women's refuge. They would.
And if they didn't, men like you would call them bigots. Because anyone can be a trans woman now. You just have to say, I have these magic gender feels in my head. So what the hell are you talking about, man?
They would want to see some consistency. They would want to see a history that you were transgender.
Okay. There are issues that arise from the whole transgender movement which have to be taken seriously. This is very different. It's a similar issue. There was an issue in America, for example, where a young transgender, now female, was male.
A young male that was born male and is still male
had been competing at a high-level sport, and suddenly, having gone from competing with the boys of 16, 17, they competed with girls and won everything by a mile.
Because they're a man or a boy, whatever.
Because physically, he now identifies was still very masculine.
100% masculine.
In terms of muscle weight and so on. And that to me seemed an issue where, well, hang on a second, there's got to be common sense here. You can't suddenly have 6'5" muscle-bound guys. Take a Caitlyn Jenner, who was an Olympic decathlete champion. Would it be fair for Caitlyn Jenner to then, compete against women who are 5'5"?
I'm completely with you. I am most definitely not the poster girl of LGBT.
You're not the poster girl of nothing. You're the poster boy of colonising women.
Transgender.
So you accept there have to be some limitations.
Absolutely, it's a very complex and it's a
It's not complex. It's simple. Men play on the men's team and women play on the women's team. It's only complex to fucking colonisers like you. Excuse my swearing, but I'm getting angry.
When it comes to sport, but not in a place, safe space for women who've been beaten.
Yes, why do sportswomen get the consideration of not having to race with a man, but women that in rape centres have to sleep in rooms where they know there's a man next door, or women in prison have to be locked up? What is the difference? Why? Anyway.
Not by men.
Because the implication here is that in some way that transgender women, whether they self-identify or whether they've been down a surgical route, are in some way a threat.
Yes, they are. Any man that will lie about what they are is a 100% threat to women.
Women. Well, some might be,
would say,
some might be.
But today we
the
don't
law of averages and statistics means that some of them will be.
But there will be women in the refuges around Britain today who've been in lesbian relationships where maybe they've been the victim.
Shut the hell up, you raging homophobe. How dare you compare lesbians to men? They are not men, they are women. How fucking dare you, you homophobe?
Are women born?
If you think lesbian violence is on the same part as male to women violence, you're a fucking idiot. And you are a fucking idiot because you think you're a woman and you're a man with your cervix.
Not at all.
They're not. We would
That's a good point.
We wouldn't have a woman and a lesbian partner in the same refuge, but statistically we know that when we're talking
Thank
about
you,
sexual
Karen.
and domestic violence and abuse, men are much more likely to be the perpetrators by far, and women are much more likely to be the victims.
Everybody knows this. The only people that bring up, but what about lesbian violence, are the trans women that seem to think that lesbians are men because we like other women. How homophobic can you get? Apologise now, Hindia.
But let me ask you, if you had a woman in a refuge who had been systematically beaten by a lesbian partner, for example, would you allow women to take care of her?
Of course.
Yes, because it is not the same thing.
But if I'm transgender, I'm saying, well, that seems a bit hypocritical to me. It's the same.
No, because they're still women. You're asking for trans women, which are male, to come into a women's space, so it's not hypocritical, man.
Argument, isn't it?
No.
It isn't the same argument. Lesbians
Thank you,
are
Karen.
much less likely to be in a physical violent.
We all know this.
Some are, right?
Some are. And
Some women are violent. Some lesbians are violent. Is it the same as men? Not at all. Anybody that thinks that or uses that as a talking point is a mentalist that has an agenda.
So you have to accept if some are, why would you treat that situation differently?
If a woman had been abused by a woman and she didn't feel safe with women, then a refuge probably wouldn't be the right place for her.
Exactly.
But actually, when we're talking about domestic violence and abuse, the victims are by far more likely to be heterosexual females. So we're talking
As we all know.
about a tiny minority, and I don't think we should set the standards on.
And you accept that transgender women are men. Yeah.
Transgender women are men. They were born men, they lived as men, and they will die as men. I don't give a shit if you chop your dick off and get some fake tits and shave your cheeks and get some fillers and put some lipstick on and dress goes twirly. You are a man and you will always be a man. You understand that, dude? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Would you have a problem? Now, I could be in a situation where I could be raped. Would you have a problem with me going to one of your refuges?
Yes. Go to your own refuge. Go to a transgender refuge. If there isn't any, set one up like women did. Yes, we would have a problem with that because you're a man.
We don't provide refuge for rape victims.
For men that are male.
If I was in a relationship and I got beaten, I'd be welcome.
No, you'll be welcome at a transgender refuge. Go and set one up if you want one.
I think you should be in a specialist refuge that supports
A specialist
trans
refuge,
women.
but they don't exist.
Then go and set one up like women did years ago. Stop being a lazy, entitled man. Oh, I'm sorry. That's all you're ever going to be.
Then I would...
With the greatest respect, I visited your
Greatest respect. You're trying to put your dick in a women's refuge about greatest respect. Shut up.
website. You have a list of crimes committed by men, and there's a great demonisation. I feel really sorry for guys this year.
You feel sorry for yourself because you are included in that because you are a man.
I think they've had it really tough.
You think we have had it really tough because you are a man?
And today, there will be more acts of violence committed by your definition of a woman than the transgender population.
Excuse me? There's more acts of violence committed by adult human females than there is men that pretend to be women. Are you sure? Are you mad, bruv? Are you fucking mad, bruv? Yes, you are, clearly, because you think you're a woman. Get your cervix out, please. I'd love to see it.
We are 1% of the world's population.
Yes, you're 1% and you cause non-stop fucking bellyache. What does that tell you?
The actual percentage that will end up working in a women's refuge in this capacity.
Okay, so you're not arguing for a trans woman that's been raped and abused to go into a women's refuge. You're arguing for a trans woman, which is a man, to work in a women's refuge. You want to have a man that is pretending to be a woman working with vulnerable women. Why?
Will be minuscule. It's being blown out of all proportion, and it's just ginormous.
And I don't think the rights of that tiny proportion should override the safety needs.
Thank you, Karen.
No, you're implying that transgender women are a threat.
Yes, I'm not I don't know what Karen is implying. I am saying 100% for a fact trans women are a threat to women, as is any man that lies about their identity. Next.
I'm not sure that is what's being implying, and I know that you said that at the beginning, that this idea that they're a danger. I'm not sure that that's the issue. I think it's for women
Even if every single trans woman, i.e. man, that's ever walked the face of the earth is 100% saintly, we know what the saints are like, but whatever. If 100% saintly, I don't even care. You're still a man. You're not welcome in my space. I don't want you there.
Or a woman who has suffered physical violence from a man who is in her most vulnerable state and simply doesn't want to be around men. And I understand that, there'll be lots of people who completely respect that these women, are women, identify as women, of course, and they want to respect that, absolutely. But we also have to respect that, a very vulnerable woman who doesn't want to be around someone who's physically feels like a man to them.
Okay.
I get it 100%, and I'm sure in that situation, the transgender woman concerned if it was causing distress.
Can I come back?
In that situation, the trans woman would ram themselves in there because they don't give a shit about women's concerns. Because if they give a shit about women's concerns in the first place, they wouldn't be running around pretending to be us.
Would back off.
Can I come back to this?
When have you ever backed off? When have you ever backed off, man? We tell you we're concerned about you all the time. When have you ever backed off?
It's been a difficult year for men. Last year, men killed 138 women in England and
Well,
Wales.
there you go. You have one track.
You have one track mind. Yes, I have one track mind, and it's on the women that have been murdered by men. How many women have been murdered this year? Well, she just said 130 something. How many trans women have murdered in the UK this year? None. How many in the last past years? None. How many trans women have murdered women? Quite a few, actually. So, yes, we've got a one track. But I cannot believe he's sitting on TV and talking to a woman who's counting dead women and talking about she's only got one track mind. Who the fuck do you think you are? This is why I would never get on TV to be interviewed with these people, because I'm raging, as you can hear it.
To your website, you have one topic of conversation.
Yes, one topic of conversation. All the women that have been murdered every bloody year by men.
Not all men are bad. There are plenty good guys.
Okay, we have...
Not all men are bad, I agree with that. But men that want to run around telling women that they've got one track mind when the thing they're trying to track is dead women, well, you ain't included in all that, men, even though you are a man.
I have to leave it there, I'm afraid, but it's an interesting debate. Let us know what you think, Holmes. It raises it.
I think he is an entitled little prick that I would love to meet, and then he can maybe show me his cervix.